Howdy chaps, and welcome back to part 9 for this XC wagon. This is probably going to be the last part you'll see for a while for this particular wagon, because it's going to go back to the owner after today's episode. Been very busy. I have been smashing out the last bit you've just seen. I've been finishing off the last bits of this Commodore. I will actually show you that. It's all been progressing along quite nicely. I'm still no magician when it comes to painting, but I'm getting there slowly but surely. There's a YouTube channel called V Auto Refinishing. He's just started, and he's a qualified spray painter doing virtually what I'm doing. So I'm a panel beater, he's a spray painter, but doing the same thing. So I'm going to watch his channel for painting tips, and I assume he watches mine for sort of rust repair tips. You know, everybody helps each other type stuff. So he's fairly new. V as in the letter V space auto space refinishing. Give that channel a like and a subscribe and go check him out. He's only got a couple of videos, so give him a chance to get some stuff out. But I sense greatness from his channel, and I'm going to be studying like it's nobody's business, because I do want to know how to paint. I do know how to paint, but I want to know all the nitty-gritty stuff, sort of like what I sort of help out everybody with the rust repairs and stuff. I want to know that about painting. I'd like to get better at it, because one day I'd like to be able to say that I can paint. These days I say that nah, I can't. I usually just do my own stuff and nobody else's, or maybe some minor stuff for mates, but I don't really advertise. I mainly specialise in rust repairs, as you well know. But we'll get past the intro and I'll show you how it's all going. Right, so we've actually got this top piece temporarily sitting in, because I had to sort of chuck it in there because I needed to move some stuff, but superficially that's sort of the end goal for the whole thing. We've obviously got to still finish this area, but by the end of today's video this will all be done. The top panel will be welded on. It'll be looking sort of like that. I mean, that's just clamped together, but it does look pretty good. I'm actually suitably impressed. Yeah, so we're just going to put the corners back in there, do a couple of minor rust repairs, and we're laughing like schoolgirls. But I'm going to attempt to walk you through some more rust repairs like I used to do in my old videos. I sort of almost half forgotten how to do that, so I'm going to relearn how to do it, get some more time lapses and all the good stuff in there. So we're progressing along there. The Commodore has come out swimmingly. I mean, it is very obvious that that bumper bar is not genuine by a few key areas, one being like it's a little bit funky right there, and it's got all these almost like dents in it, but they're not dents. You can sort of, if you catch it on the wrong light, there's one here somewhere. It's just not very good, but considering that was quite literally half the price of a genuine, I sort of couldn't not get them, and they do fit okay. If it bothers me in the future, I'll put real ones on. I just happened to notice before, there's a really crisp style line just here, right by the eyebrow, or the eye of the car, and you walk around here and it's gone. It's like, Mr. Starline, where are you? And that's how I know that guard's been repaired. I mean, when I took that bar off the first, I mean, look at the colour difference. That's just mind-blowing. But stupidly, the guard is darker than the bonnet. So I don't know, either I'll end up repainting the whole car, but for now I'm just going to have to live with it. But the colour match here, if I lean back, this one is pretty good. Bonnet to bar, pretty good. Bonnet to guard, very good. The paint for this, obviously there was a dent here, I repaired that and painted it, and the base coat only comes up through here, sort of. I think I rubbed through a dent through here somewhere. So the base coat is literally just here. So the bar is the same colour as this, and what I did was I used some techniques. I based it up with the second batch of the 2 litres, and then I used the Mickey Whisker of the closest match of the 3 colours I got towards the end, and just gave it one last very minor coat over the whole thing, and I think that's what got it looking pretty good. But see, there's no base coat here, so it's just the clear that's made it a little bit different, but a little bit of trash in it, but we're not talking show-stoppingly bad. So there's no base coat here, so that's why that's not bad. But yeah, it really is 14 shades of the same colour. It's unreal. Like, when I went to go get this paint, they said, which variant have you got? I said, I don't know. They go, there's 7 variants of this colour. I was like, you serious? Yeah, 7 variants for this model of car. You're like, wow. I mean, it's not that bad, but that's quite a lot of variation. And I was like, couldn't you just pick one variant? So we're just going to have to live with some mismatchiness. I mean, the only way to really fix that is to then blow. I don't think a blender is going to fix that, to be perfectly honest, because you'd see it. You'd have to almost repaint this side of the car to match, and I'm not going to do that. So haven't quite worked it out. Either that, or you'd get this colour and blow it into the bar. I'm not really sure. And this is where my painting skill sort of runs out. I can sort of apply paint and get it looking. That's not even polished, that's straight off the spray gun. That's one of the joys of 2-pack, isn't it? Just straight off the gun, glossy. So I'm not a magician. I can get an okay job that'll be passable from 20 feet. So, you know, that's why I want to learn more painting skills. So next week this gets 4 tyres, a wheel alignment, and it gets sent for its trip to Regency so I can get back on the road. But I was happy that blend, that came out beautiful. So I'll have to assume that that's the second batch, which was that little 250ml tin, was correct, whereas the second batch of 2 litres, which was this batch, is slightly lighter. So what I should have done is done what I did to the front guard to this, but what I'll probably do, if it bugs me enough, is take the moulding and the handle out and just throw this colour into the door and be done with it. But let's just get it done, because it needs to be a useful car, as it's for the Trouble and Strife, my partner in crime. This is her new ride, and it is pretty much ready for the road. It took me 1 month and 2 days to fix this car, including painting that quarter twice. But that's enough out of that. You've now seen that I am entirely human and not a magician, especially when it comes to painting. So that's one thing. I want to see the chap who runs V whatever finishing. I want to set him a challenge, going, paint something like that and then show me how you blend it in. That's what I'd like to see. Something that's 14 shades off, and I want them to be blended together, and show me how you hide that kind of disaster that this is. If you're watching, please do that. Please do that. Anyway, enough of this. Let's get back into this. Let's get into the wagon. Yeah. Now, first task, first cab off the rank is, wow, they're getting a bit low. Now, these have all been blasted, all looking smashing. They've all been etch primed too. This guy is the first cab off the rank. He needs to be put back in. Just remember which way he's going to go in. I think he's going to go that way. And he's going to need quite a sizable piece in the middle. What I'm going to have to do is put that in a vise and try and straighten it up, because, you know, even a blind man could tell you that that is not in line when it should be. I can't even bend it. But what I'm going to do, and I'll walk you through this one, it's pretty straightforward. It's virtually a flat piece of steel. I'm going to cut out, I'm going to straighten it first to about what it should be, and then I'll sit it back in there and make sure it's 100% right. Pull it out, and I'll mark out a template with some cardboard, a piece that I'm going to cut out of tin, and then I'll trim off all the junk. I'm going to leave, or try to leave, these style lines and that lump in there because it's supposed to be there, so I'll weld just on the outside of that. and weld in a flat piece, and then I'll put that back in the car. So we'll catch you up in a jiffy once I've hammered that into the right shape, and then we'll do some wonderful time-lapsing of me welding this all together into one lovely piece. So bear with me while I get this happening. So I actually neglected to mention that I forgot to do this piece, but I actually just did it between the two scenes. It might have just seen, remember how I did that section here the other day? Well, I forgot that I had to put the top on this piece, which was a mirror, basically a clone of it. So what I just did is just quickly whittle that up, but I made sure that the next piece that went on top, its welds weren't actually in the exact same spot, because the other one had a big weld through here. So this one was a plate that went across here, so there was no weld through here. So I made sure that even though they're the same piece, effectively they weren't welded in the same place, they were overlapped differently. So that bit is done, and now where I was meant to be up to, but obviously I've just done that. So what I've done is I got masking tape taped up about where the rust needs to be, peeled it off, gingerly put it on another piece of tin, trimmed that piece of tin down to the size that it's going to be, yeah, and then copper sprayed around it, and I'll have a very rough, I mean it's going to require some trimming and whatnotting, but that's effectively what I'm going to cut out and put this piece in the middle, and then just weld around the edges. So that gets rid of all of that janky stuff in the middle, and I can weld up the corner there, and it puts a lovely fresh piece of tin effectively right in the middle. And then when that's one piece, I can then go put this piece back in the car, and we can rock and roll. But that's one way to make a template. You get your masking tape and you tape it over. You do several layers, there's probably 3 layers there to make it a bit stiffer, and then you can just trim out where you want. You can just gingerly peel it off and flatten it out onto another piece. It's sort of a bit like doing the cardboard stuff, except you can stick it to a piece of metal. Just another way of making a template. So that's what we're up to next. I'm going to trim this and put that in there, and then put this back in the car. So after that, we've ground down the welds, copper sprayed both sides. This is now ready to go back in. You may have noticed a bit of a funky camera angle. That's because I didn't want my camera to be anywhere near the welding splatter, because they can ruin the lens pretty spectacularly. Welding sparks and grinding sparks are two things that you want to actually take a little bit of care as to where they're heading, and make sure this sort of grounding dust doesn't stay when you finish your jobs down any little grooves. And also the biggest thing is watch out for grinding sparks around glass. That is a very, very effective way to ruin windows. And welding splatter can on occasion break windows. So just be mindful of where your splatterings are going. But enough about that. I'm going to tack this in after I grind. After I take this to the bench and drill a bunch of plug weld holes, and then I'm going to tack this in, and that bit will be done, and then we can actually progress along a lot faster because there's no repairs that are needed to do on this piece. All I got to do is weld this bracket, which is the main catch. Oh, look how lovely it is, freshly sandblasted. Weld that catch sort of back on the inside of this, and then shove that in that hole after I do some seam sealing and some body sealing up, so that area is permanently sealed. So weld that in, put this on here, then this back in there, and then it's quite simple. We just got to put, we'll actually do a little rust repair there, and then put this lower section on, and then this lower section on, and then once you finish that, we can put this whole big piece in. Sounds so simple when I say it like that. Anyway, making good progress and moving right along. It's pretty straightforward. You just tack it on and tap it in and weld. And I'll get that done and then show you some more. Alrighty chaps, that bit's back in now, looking lovely. Copper sprayed. I've also cleaned up the inside of here because that's where this piece is going to actually marry up into, but now I've just clamped the catch back in its original holes to that piece, and then that piece can go in that hole once I've done some seam sealing. But I figured I'll get this all welded back together into one piece, and then I can do that and then put this in there. Just so simple when you say it that quickly. All of the welds, all of the grinding. But that looks fantastic right now. It's looking smashing, absolutely lovely. Actually happy with that. That bit came out beautiful, right? Well, that was absolutely toasted. So stack of plug welds on here, grind them down, then shove that in that hole. Oop, that hole, there we go. Moving right along. Okay, so you might have missed it, but I did seam seal in there with some goo and some stuff, and then a bit of body deadener over the top of it just to make it all lovely. And I've just hammered that piece back in. It was a bit of a tight fit because the catch, if I use my hand properly, the catch that was welded to the back of that panel was slightly taller than it, so it actually had to go in sort of on a funky angle and then sort of stand up. But it's in there now, it's not coming back out. I just got to line it all up with its old marks and then weld that guy in, and then we're going to do this little hole here. That'll be but a moment's worth of work, and then we can actually put the outer sort of thishy bit here, using all my technical mumbo jumbo right now, put that bit back on and then that outer bit, and then we're done. And then we can, depending on how our schedule is going, we may or may not be able to get that top panel on as well. Just play it by ear, but this should be 30 seconds work welding that back in. There's not actually that many plug welds, and it's just one seam across there. So that is that. I might catch you up after I've done that little hole, because that's quite literally just cut the rust and put a piece in and grind and you're done. And then that's actually the whole subframe section done in this area, and then we can just do the skins and moving right along. It's coming along quite nicely. Right chaps, we're making good progress. We've now put in this little piece down here, fairly straightforward. My etch primer is running a smidgen because it's a little on the cold side. We've been obviously welded in, ground them down. It's looking smashing. All I gotta do is, I mean I bare metaled it before, but I don't have to spray it over the top of it. So I'm gonna clean off that surface, and that surface, and copper spray it, and then we're going to reach over here, reach for the sky, and we're going to hammer that flat and get that bumper bar dent out of it and put a very small patch into there, and then that can be stuck like there, and we will be laughing like schoolgirls. And once that one's in, I don't believe we need to do a patch in the out one. We can just put that one back in And then I think that's where we're going to have to wrap up the video. But yeah, buddy, starting to look pretty good. This has also been through the blaster and made less rusty. So I might do this like I did the other side, where, is that blurry? Maybe. Where I actually tacked it back in and then actually repaired it, if that makes any sense. So basically, I basically put the top half back in and then just trimmed up and did a patch for the bottom. That way it was sort of held, which might be the easiest option. But the only reason that rust hole was there and that rust hole was there is because there was a big honking blob of lead sitting in that spot right there, which I dug out when I first stuck it out, but I've lost it since then. But it was a big blob of lead just sitting right there. Incredible. That shouldn't be a terribly difficult repair at all, really. Just cut and paste just like that one was. That's why I didn't even bother filming it, because it's literally cut a square, trim the next piece to the same exact shape, and literally just weld around it and grind it flat, you know. Some of the other stuff that's a bit trickier I'll tend to show the ins and outs of, but stuff that's just insanely simple, you know, yeah, got me. I don't bother. Or if you do want to see that stuff, I'd suggest you go back and see some of my older videos. But I think we're making good progress. I could see that not happening. That's gonna have to wait till next time. We're just gonna one at a time. But we'll get this side in, the structure done, and that'll be looking lovely. So we'll catch you up in a jiffy. Hey chaps, now we've got this next piece welded in, also straightened up, as you may or may not have noticed, being the keen observers that you are. All I'm going to do, because there's actually a fold here and there's no rust, I'm just going to come up, across and down and stay within these two pressings, because there's no rust there, there's no rust here, it's just here in the middle. So just go up, cross, down, and leave the flat there. It's also interesting to note that it's perfectly back on its original spot weld holes, and also to note how janky it looks with this sort of looking like it should have been down like that, but that's where the spot weld holes were. So yet another fine example of Fords sort of being thrown together. But yes, we'll go down, up, cross, down, put a piece in there with a very minor fold through it, and then we'll do a couple of plug holes and just up and across, and then we'll just put this last little bit in that's right here, which thankfully doesn't need a rust repair. I just cut it out because, whoops, it was slippery. It's just an access hole to the side of this, so that'll go back in, and then we will wrap up the video. So zip, zip, zip. Well done, done. But this has actually come up rather nice, I must say, through here. Lovely. Righty kids and chaps and chapettes, we're done. Well, we're not technically done, but we're done for this video. This whole corner is now repaired. I really hope this video was entertaining, or at least the knowledge might be useful. But boy oh boy, that was time consuming. Oh my word. Repair after repair after error. So we started off by putting the top, this bit, on here because we'd already done the underside. So we did yeah, so that came across there and across here and across here and then down. So there was one piece that went across here up, and then there was a second little piece that had a slightly different fold on it to have that angle going there. So there's two pieces in here. This piece obviously needed to be repaired and put back in, so you could probably consider that to be two repairs. This had to be, the bracket had to be welded back onto this inside of this, and then that needed to be welded back inside the car. Then we had to fix the rust hole that was in the back of this and clean and weld that up. Then we had to put this piece back on, and then have to do another repair to the top side of it and weld that and grind that, and then copper spray in between, and then prep it and put this piece on the top and grind it down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 repairs slash welding sessions. Yeah. Thusly making it equally as time consuming as that side, if not worse, due to the fact that it was recessed. But it's done. All I gotta do is spray some etch on that, and we are laughing. I left it a little bit open here on purpose because the actual panel that sits in here actually slips ever so slightly behind there. So it's sort of a little bit of a tight fit. But that'll do for now. The next time you see the wagon, it'll probably be back, and I probably will be tackling the roof and gutters, which I'm not overly looking forward to. But I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to check out V Auto Refinishing. He is a painter. Looks like a lovely bloke. Looks like he's gonna do some good work. So get on there and check out his channel. I mean, he's in early days, but we all started from somewhere, didn't we? So thank you for watching, if you made it this far. And stay tuned for more, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.